friends, welcome to another episode, another special episode of MPJ, and we've got a lovely interview here today, and none other than one of the most interesting up-and-coming bands that I've listened to. It's the SuperMicks. Hello, gang. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good to hear from you.
Good. So, look, for the crowd, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell what your function is to in the band? Yeah, you go. The one with the beard, go first, please.
Thanks.
He's got a bigger beard.
His name. He's not the beard.
I get priority over that.
Yeah, I think so. I think you do.
I'm Greg. I play bass. That is my function.
That is my function. That is my sole life.
Yeah. That is my thing, yeah. Oh, well, I'm Wayne Jones. I'm the lead singer and rhythm guitar pretty much with bits of lead, so a bit of all sorts, but yeah, lead singer mainly.
Okay, so we've come across you because young Trish on her travels, because she likes to get around and listen to some rock bands.
I'm glad you put that at the end, mate.
Of course I would.
Not just glad to get around.
Never, a lady like you, a rock lady such as you, would never. And you were supporting the amazing Collateral, I believe. Yeah. So done in Bournemouth. Yeah. So for the uneducated that maybe not heard of the SuperMicks, how would you describe your music?
Well, I suppose we started off as a blues rock band. And when I joined, 3 years ago now, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were pottering around pretty locally where we live, which is the Isle of Thanet, down in Surrey Ramsgate. And we were sort of a bluesy rock, Beatles-esque sort of sound.
Yeah.
And then I joined the band, and it got a bit heavier.
Yeah. We opened up the underground and went a bit darker on the music, which is to put it bluntly, it's been great fun. So the best way to put it is probably the influences and tones from the band members is kind of moulds our original music. It's
quite eclectic, really.
Yeah.
I mean, my influences were sort of early 90s grunge, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Mudhoney, that sort of stuff.
Nice.
And your...
Yeah, well, mine sort of come from Queen, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and then as I got older, my influences now may be a bit of an undercurrent, but country rock as well is in there because I'm a massive fan of Chris Stapleton. But my biggest will be Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
So
and that definitely resonates in our music. There's a bit of a boozy tone there every now and then.
Can't help it.
It's quite fascinating because we do like ourselves a bit of country rock, and actually one of the best albums of country rock was Dorothy with her new album This Way. I don't know if you've listened to that yet, but oh my god, if you like your country rock, check her out. She's incredible. But then it's funny that actually because I listened to your EP today, and it's almost got like this. You're right in terms of that late 80s, early 90s kind of theme, but very rock and roll. I had that rock and roll and that little tinge of country rock in there. There wasn't much, but it was just that vibe. Just a vibe. Yeah, just a vibe of it. And I'm going like, but it was very kind of it was rock and roll. I didn't feel it was dark. I felt quite light. I felt quite energized by it. Really.
Well, that's a good thing.
Which is kind of interesting because it definitely ticked my boxes, by the way. It's fantastic, but and actually one of the 4 songs or 5 songs made it to my cool playlist, which is we'll have a little guessing game later as to what that is. But that's the vibe I kind of got, and I understood maybe why you're in that vibe of Collateral, who are kind of more that 80s sound, where I would say you're more kind of rock and roll with that 80s kind of maybe 90s influence in there as well. But it's interesting what you said though, Greg, in terms of dark. I didn't have a hint of darkness in the EP that I have. So how would you? In what way would you say that you're darker?
Not so much in the EP. I think the EP's got quite a happy vibe to it.
Oh yeah.
Generally, apart from one of the tracks, probably Whiskey Said, which is a little bit
more ballady and controlled.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the vibe that we were going for that EP. So Found Me, the title track, was actually written by a friend of ours who was in the band originally.
So that would be myself and a good friend Jude Green, a good friend of ours, and we was kind of a duo 10 years ago, and then lots has happened in between in life and what have you. So he wrote the song with me. We basically wrote it originally, and then we kind of rocked it together as a duo. He wanted to step away from the band for whatever reasons he needed to, but he kind of said, look, you have my blessing to do everything we've ever worked on together, because it's music, and his dad was a massive musician, and he stepped away for family reasons. So I was like, as long as you're happy, we will turn it into whatever rock tracks we feel it will come into, and that's what it was.
The EP kind of went off of that vibe. When we play live, our set is kind of it gets progressively heavier as we go through the set and builds into a bit of a crescendo at the end.
Yeah.
And that's where the darker stuff comes in. I play with lots of distortion and
big dirty drop Ds and stuff. It's just good fun. We love it.
Does that mean that we might get some new music coming soon?
Oh, there's loads of new music
absolutely. I don't listen. He's going to tell me off all the time. I pick up my guitar to do some rehearsing, and then one twang, and I'm like, that sounds like something there, and then that's it. The next 2 hours is another song.
At least once a week, he's sending me through a voice note going, I've had an idea.
Okay.
What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And then generally, I'll be doing the same. I'll be tinkering about at home, and I'll send a bass line back and go, what do you think of this?
And I'll be like, that's happening in rehearsals instead of proper rehearsing.
But yeah, we write quite a lot of music.
I think that shows the connections we have within the band, and it's just the excitement of starting again, something new. Every time we feel we've got something kind of finished, although it's not out there finished, like the production of the EP, etc., we kind of know that if we had money extra to spend in a studio all of the time, we'd be able to just pump these things out, and if it sounds right live and then recorded, it will sound right to everyone else, then we'll be happy.
Yeah, we kind of test some tracks out on the audience, which is a good way to kind of gauge whether or not it sits well.
Yeah.
So we're called MPJ, which is Musical People in Journeys. That's how we started, by interviewing just anybody and how music influences their life. So how would you describe where you're at in your journey right now then, in terms of, obviously you say you started off with a very good friend of yours, Wayne, and that's kind of moved on. How did you, when he said he was kind of going to move on, how did you kind of move on from that breakup, if you like? I know it was amicable, but in terms of a musical theme, did you feel, I'm not going to carry on now, or did you feel I'm going to rejuvenate myself, or how did that go?
Wayne and I spent, because we lost 2 band members within the space of a few weeks because of personal circumstances.
Yeah.
And then Wayne and I found ourselves kind of pottering around in this studio for about 6 weeks, just writing new stuff and mucking about with the old stuff and revamping it, and trying to recruit a new drummer and a new guitarist. And it all kind of came together really quickly.
Very quickly,
after that. We found a new drummer who was introduced to us by a friend of ours, Dan Kennard, who's a young drummer and an absolute animal behind the kit. And he turned up. We thought, right, we'll have a little rehearsal with him. We sent him through some tracks, and he sent some back straight away, like, what do you think of this? And we were like, we've got to get this guy in. Yeah. And he turned up, absolutely smashed the drums. Yeah. And the rest is history in that sense. And then my brother, who I used to be in a band with a long, long time ago.
With my uncle.
Yeah, with Wayne's uncle. We'll get to that. Yeah. He hadn't picked up a guitar for a long time, and I just kept saying to him, come down, have a bit of a jam and a muck about with us. And eventually,
with the guys stepping away from the band, it was kind of, maybe his nerves or whatever, it just gave a nice window for James to then say, all right, I'll come down, because there was no pressure to be out there playing live at the moment, because, like we say, the drummer and the other guitarist and singer with me had left. So then eventually he come down and gave us a little bit of time together to get James in the swing of his guitar again.
Yeah.
Of course, he got the urge again, and that was it. Hasn't put it down since.
And where did Dave Dorman come in?
Around the same sort of time. I'd say it was within a few weeks. We went from just me and Wayne pottering about and
to a 5-piece rock band
stuff to full on 5-piece.
Well, to be fair, we had a couple of gigs, and we got a good friend, a musician down here as well, Luke J. Dorman. His dad is Dave, and Dave had come out to watch us a couple of times before the other guys stepped away. So obviously in that window, Luke says to us, "My dad, he's a guitarist. He's a big
and your biggest fan,
and your biggest fan," which we've got. She'll watch this.
We can't call him.
We have got a biggest fan. Her name's Vicky. Just a shout out, otherwise we'll be in trouble.
Thought you were going to say Trish then. There we go.
and Trish. Yeah, so that was it. Yeah, Dave came along, and he hasn't left since as well. Maybe we've got that thing. We could be a 15-piece band if we're not careful.
And how long ago was that? How long ago was that? That was 3 years ago, you said.
No, that was you 3 years ago. So we've only been the 5 of us as the band everyone sees now for about just over 2 years.
Coming up to 2 years.
Just coming up to 2 years then.
And what do you think?
So we're still new.
And what do you think you've achieved in those 2 years? Are you, in terms of you had to plot your journey to where you really want to go to, are you on track? Are you on course to where you think you should be, and what you're doing?
I mean, any musician will tell you there's always bumps in the road.
Some of them are walls.
yeah. And we faced a few of those. We had hoped to be able to have had an album out by now, and it hasn't happened for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
We've got one of our band members is very sadly stepping away, and we're looking for another drummer.
Yeah. So we're now obviously in sort of pause mode, as much as it's fantastic that he's agreed to sort of help us through the rest of this year with everything we already had booked, but then anything that could have or maybe go through the door to get us in, we're kind of having to wait now and just concentrate on the live stuff we've got booked, and then work on new stuff and getting someone in and transition the drummer correctly for everyone, sort of thing.
Yeah, so we're kind of back at the stage where Wayne and I are doing some writing
in here.
Getting some more tracks ready, and then once we've got the band together, I mean, we've got the album is pretty much ready to record, and we're going to be doing that with our good friend Louis Malagodi again.
Yeah, lovely. He's produced all of them.
Yeah,
to be fair, Hometown.
I didn't realise that until I was reading up some stuff, and I didn't actually realise that he's been sort of behind in the background.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Talking in terms of journey, I mean, going through that process and Louis producing the EP with us has been transformational for us, really, because it's helped us to really kind of think about the way that we put our music together.
Yeah.
So through the process of recording, we stripped everything right back, started again from basics, went through all the structures, make sure that we were kind of like happy with the way that the songs progressed, and then rebuilt them from the start. And Louis worked his magic and added bits in and was like, "What do you think of this?" And
yeah,
like, I don't know, and we tweaked bits here, and it's turned out amazing.
Yeah, it's been great, because one of the main things I took away from what Louis was putting into the band was how you can create the same but different in terms of recording professionally to get a sellable material on the radio and on YouTube, whatnot, and then how you can still deliver that with these extras and a little bit longer in a set and putting them out to a live audience. So it's great fun, because you just got, it keeps encouraging people to come back out to watch you live. So
he didn't tell us, because he didn't tell us that when we interviewed him. When we interviewed him for Collateral, I didn't know that he did any of this kind of stuff. So he's a clever man.
I think when he was on, because I've watched it as well, because I've watched a few of your show anyway, and when Louis was on, he did mention, and I was really, I was like, he never even said that to us, because I was like, that's how, he's so honest and genuine, but he's not there dropping names for himself or anything. I remember him saying, I'm currently working with a band in the area called the SuperMicks, and carried on. I think he was explaining about what he's doing outside of Collateral. But yeah, it was lovely for him to mention us in the first place.
Yeah.
But.
So, Greg, then you mentioned that your influences were very much that kind of Guns N' Roses, that kind of influence. But Wayne, I'm sorry, but Craig Stapleton is not a rock god. Okay, so you can't.
No,
he's not a rock god. He's an okay vocalist. Okay, so
no. I'll let that.
I have to say this because I've got a friend at work called Matt who is absolutely fixated with Chris Stapleton. So I'm just I just winding him up as well. So, but what was your rock influence though?
I'm with you, Matt.
Yeah, got to see him live. Been up to the O2, watched him. I actually don't.
Yeah, I was there with him. I was probably with Matt somewhere.
Probably, I think you probably were actually. So what was your rock influences though? Because I can see Wayne's influence, and I can see a little bit of yours, but not really. So what was your influences when you kind of your staple when you kind of growing up, and what was your rock influences?
So mine, I mentioned earlier, was Queen. Was from my dad. My dad's a massive Queen fanatic, so I was hooked on Queen from a very young age. And then I quickly got into, from a very good friend I was growing up with at the time on my street. So it was the course of borrowing tapes before CDs were even around from him. But it was I was borrowing Guns N' Roses, Metallica. At the time, it's a bit heavier than I like these days, but I even had Machine Head tapes as a kid. And although it's a bit heavier than what I originally like, it was amazing to listen to some of the drums and things like that, and guitars and things in that. Korn, I'm not a massive fan of Korn because they're a bit heavier than what I like to get into. But they're and the same. There's loads of stuff I listen to, and I'm like, I can appreciate what they do because it's amazing. And of course, it just makes you look at the things and think, in their genre, it's unbelievable as well.
I'm the same. I just think musicianally wise and musical composition, I'm headbanging away, and then they open their mouths, and I go like, "What the hell's all that about?"
Yeah. I love melody. I love a melody, whether it's guitars rolling with vocals, rolling with the bass, rolling with these waves. I mean, Collateral, just to put them back in there. That's one of the things when we stood there live. We would have just played, and then we're stood in the crowd watching, and I'm like, this is a great night. And watching them, the way they can bring the crowd up and down with you, it's amazing. So, yeah, regardless what level of band you are, if you can do those things with a crowd, you're doing something right, in my opinion. So,
no, I'm with you. So, we come to the probably what most people would say the best bit in the show, which is, of course... Trish time. It's gonna be Trish time. Where Trish gets to answer her questions. Otherwise,
they might say the complete opposite after this interview.
Possibly.
Be the worst part of the lot.
Yeah, I'll edit it out. Don't worry, so it's fine. I'm really joking. Trish, crack on. Answer your questions. I'll ask your questions even.
So my first question is going to be, how did you come up with the band name?
That's a him story.
So
Time.
Before Greg's time, bless him. So rolling back to my friend I was on about that left the band, that we was a duo. So we've been friends for years, played football, grew up together and whatnot. And there was a guy, because he's a builder by trade and works anywhere and everywhere. And I was out of work for a little while, but I remember him and his brother saying, there's an Irish fella, and he was so thick Irish vocally when he's talking. For whatever reason, when they went to his house to work, every time they said mate, he thought they were saying Mick, and he was literally saying, "Would you like a tea, Mick?" in the thickest Irish accent you can imagine. And they were giggling away. Anyway, fast forward to a couple of years after that had even been mentioned. And I was out of work, and Jude said, well, just come along with me, get a bit of work and experience or whatever on a site with me, sort of thing. So when I'd done that, and out of nowhere, I'm in this guy's house. I'm looking at the basement thing that I was going to do some of these bits and pieces on the floor with boarding and whatever. And the guy shouts down, and he's in the conversation, he says, Mick. And I was like, Jude's then laughing in the other room. I can hear him because it's all echoey. And then he's gone back up and he's asked for if we wanted a tea. So I shouted through. I said, "Jude's he calling me Mick?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is the guy." I was like, "Oh my god!" So the super part was Jude's favourite superhero was Superman, and we just sat in a pub for a game of football when we was creating sort of a band name to be a duo. And all I'd done was drew the Superman badge, the outside logo, and turns the S to an M and created it in that sort of sense, just in a bit of paper. And we was like, we would just be SuperMicks. We would just be the SuperMicks. And the other thing is, even now, my children call Jude Uncle Mick, because we will phone each other and go, "All right, Mick," and that's it. The kids are called Mick and Jeans. The wife's called Micholette sometimes. So, yeah.
Isn't that lovely? From a simple thing, that tradition and that story evolves. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask quick fire questions to both of you. Favourite film?
Bad Boys. Oh, I've got so many, but
I don't know. It's really difficult.
Bad Boys 2.
Sorry. Pulp Fiction's always one of my favourites. Love to go back to that all the time.
Favourite word?
I'm not allowed to say it.
Mick.
Yeah, Mick or Gerard.
Are you a Liverpool fan by any chance?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Champions!
Favourite food?
This poor man has been turned into a red and through no choice of his own.
Good lad.
Dragged out.
Good lad. I'm sorry, we're taking this bit over now, Trish. But there we go.
It's an excuse for a beer, really.
I'm not precious. Favourite food?
Lasagna.
Oh my God.
I like Garfield. It's the red hair.
I was literally going to say lasagna. Yeah, lasagna. We should go for dinner sometime.
Yeah. Anything Italian?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to go a little bit serious. What's the best show or tour you've ever played, and why was it so special?
Well, I think the tour.
We're saying tour. We've only been on one, but it was special, genuinely.
Yeah.
But if we say a venue, for example, from the tour, the Corporation was great in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Sheffield.
Because it was the stage was elevated so high. It was very new to us. Of course, you've got people in front of you in a venue in a pub usually, but on a stage like that, it felt very real, which is great, and I loved it.
And it was raucous there, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was in, sound checked, make some noise, and we was like, okay.
Okay, and I'm going to ask one more question before I hand back to Nigel. What do you hope people take away from your music?
I think probably the same as
Inspiration and enjoyment for me.
What I take away from music is it's the enjoyment from it. Hearing something that kind of, makes the back of your neck tingle, and you think, wow, that's incredible. Something that you will go away and listen to 5 times in a row because you think that the track's so good.
Just to jump in on that before we finish then. So a quick tiny story. When we played Walton Farm Festival in Canterbury, our music, it went from the year before we played inside the barn and it was fantastic. And there was about 7 children, like tots, like between, I don't know, 4 or 5 and up to about 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. And they were rocking out to A Million Things on the EP of all songs. That's the one I remember. Then the following year, which was last year, in the sun, we played on the outside stage at the same venue. And there was this lovely, lovely couple. They could barely stand up by the looks of things until we played one of our songs, which was Pretty Lady, which is our opener. And then I saw him with his wife dancing. And I was like, oh my God, they love this.
Yeah.
And I was like, the difference between the age is fantastic.
I think what we found with our music, when we played, we've gone to venues before and we thought, oh God, I don't know how this is going to land with this audience.
Yeah.
And then the room's just gone off.
Yeah, and it's really nicely surprising.
And it's been like that through like all of the generations people that we played to.
Yeah.
Nigel?
Well, it's only one question really. The next question is Trent, stay or leave?
Are you talking football?
No.
Just talk about yourselves. I genuinely, I think I work in the thought process about staying, But I've heard from the grapevine up there that he's going still, unfortunately.
I know, just a lot of smoke at the minute with him staying, isn't it? But there we go. So, would there ever be a rock version of "You'll Never Walk Alone" done by the SuperMicks?
I doubt it, because the rest of the band members probably won't buy into it. But I've actually written a Liverpool song I wrote the 12th Man. So I've written a song. It's on YouTube. It's been out there for ages. When we won off the back of COVID, and I wrote with Jude as a duo, because Jude Green is, like I say, a close friend, had to leave, and he's a massive Red as well. And we wrote a song just for the fun of it at first, just to try and incorporate every player of the winning first team with Jurgen Klopp at the time, and it's out there just for shits and giggles, really.
You have to send it to me. So I listened to your EP. Absolutely. What song do you think I added to my cool playlist?
Going off your, I might be being detective-wise here, but I was going off your energy-wise words.
So a million things.
It's maybe A Million Things or Found Me.
It was actually Let Me Know.
Yes, that's
right. Nice.
Loved it.
Okay. That's my party vibe. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's good to hear, though. It's good to hear. A lot of people obviously go for the head track, what have you. My dad loves that at the moment. He's like,
I just love it. I love that combo of rock and roll and 80s style music. I loved it. Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, so Elvis sort of line in there from my granddad. That was sort of yeah. It's just that little bit. It's a kind of little tip of the head to the old original rock and roller from back in the day.
I love it.
So, I tell you what I'm detecting here between you two is a very special bond. In all seriousness, it really seems to have a real special bond between the two of you. Like, you're almost like brothers, really.
What?
Yeah, it really genuinely is. There's a genuine chemistry between the two of you. It's absolutely blatantly obvious that you are really, really, really good friends. Do you envision or hope then that friendship will see you right through? Are you like, as if you're? That's not about marriage, but a commitment that the two of you are going to get to success.
Actually say that.
Yeah, our wives are good friends as well.
Yeah.
So it works out quite well. But I mean, if you talk about it in that sense, I mean, Wayne and I have known each other for 3 years, but actually, like I say, I was in a band with his uncle years ago, just as a garage band, basically. We've never formally crossed paths, but
I don't know how.
In conversation, it turns out we've actually worked together.
Yes.
Wow.
At one point. We used to go to the same venues, used to drink in the same places. We just, I don't know, we kind of crossed paths without ever meeting.
So my Uncle John, who he's referring to, who was in a band with, I still remember leaving Cunningham High School at the time with the school guitar and amp, a crappy Yamaha Telly style, and a really small Yamaha amp. And I got a lift from my dad to my nan's, which is where my Uncle John was. And I remember saying to him, I've been learning these songs. I want to, do a cover band. And he was like, no, I do originals. I'm like, oh, what? Now, if I had said, I want to be an originals band too, he would have said, this is Greg. But I didn't. I was like, okay, see you later. So, yeah, how we haven't met before, 3 years ago, I will never know.
And it seems to me then that you are absolutely dying to put an album together. You obviously have a lot of material. So how close is that? Obviously, you're going to have to get a new drummer. You're getting a new drummer before you lay the album down, or before?
We are. We're thinking about that we can start laying stuff down without the drummer, because we've got some talented friends that are able to kind of help us out in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously speaking with Louis and being close with Louis still, in between his busy schedule, we've been chit-chatting away, and obviously he said, and our old drummer from the band, who parted at the same time as Jude, is our good friend Curtis Ford, and we're still all very close, which is great. So, and he's still musically involved when he can be, so we sort of ping ideas back and forth, and also from outside that window, Curtis and Louis are also good friends as well. So we sort of put things through to Kurt, and he can, within time frames, we can put some drums, like MIDI drums together, which also will then effectively help us shape the tracks that would be the album, and also then put out for part of auditioning for the new drummers, because they'll kind of get an idea of the influence and style of drums we're going to want going forward. So there's lots going on. It's it feels slow, definitely for the outside window, but there is definitely things going on, and we'll get everyone in right time.
It feels slow to us. We'd like
we'd like to just get in the studio and live there for a month. Yeah. That'd be wonderful.
So are we going to see an album in 2026?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And you mentioned that horrible word cover. So is there going to be any cover songs on this album?
Oh God, here we go.
Why do you? We're an original band through and through.
That's amazing. Why do you feel? I mean, we have this argument quite a lot. Listen to an album, an 80s album, and it was a brilliant 80s album. Well, it was a modern album, brilliant. But they put a cover of Drive on it, and you go like, why? Why do you think? I mean, some people say it's the pressure from the studio, but I can't think the studio are going to go like, oh, put a cover in there. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Especially if you into the studio, it's your choice to go and get your work done, isn't it?
When you're putting your music out, you're putting your emotion out there.
Yeah.
So it's you write a song for a purpose. If you're covering someone else's, I mean, I can understand from the point of view, you know, if you love a song and it resonates with you, and you carried that song with you and it means something.
Yeah.
Then
you maybe it's something that you've put in your own twist, and you kind of love the way you've reinterpreted someone else's song. And maybe, but
I'd be terrified to do it an injustice if I tried to cover something.
Yeah, because obviously, if you're going to do your favourite bands, you massively look up to them. I'd be the same. You wouldn't want to do it any injustice.
Well, so. I think it's you know, what I like about covers, you know, is when you put your own spin on it, and it isn't just a take of like. Well, I might as well just listen to the original then. What's the point? You know, Sound of Silence is a perfect example of like you do something like new or different with a track. So okay, thank God for that, because if I do review your album, I could never give it a 5 if you put a cover on it, because I refuse to give anything a top mark if it's got a cover on it.
Totally with you.
Yeah, it's
we get past this.
Yeah, especially with venues. Obviously, like we can understand what people class as bread and butter venues, which is going to be, you know, make a quid and try and get into a pub where there's a lot of people, and you genuinely understand the sense that in a business term, management or owners of a venue, of course, on a Saturday night, if 100% of the people are going to be there wanting to have a sing along, then they're not going to know an original band's music. But there's no way you will get the best up and coming bands recognised if you don't give them those chances. We have worked hard, but it has definitely shown.
When we first started out, there was a lot of doors closed in our faces. And we've had to kind of build a bit of a reputation around this area and the county and beyond to be able to get out there. I think part of that is probably Sunshine Ocean Records. So that's some friends of ours who run a label and organise events. And
they do a lot of work for musicians locally, all originals artists, and it's great because then you kind of you go to an event and say, oh well, we're affiliated with these, give them the website and say, have a look, they kind of try and help promote and offer a venue more than one band of similar sort of style or genre and what have you, and it helps.
And they're a label that's all about sort of helping out original bands and
community,
getting artists out there and helping people to break. So
So what bands, if you weren't listening to Collateral, Chris Stapleton, or your own music, what's the buzz for you so far this year? What new band or what album or what are you currently listening to?
I'll tell you what, the one band that stood out to me this year is The Cost. Have you heard of them?
No.
That's L.
I don't want to get his name wrong because I don't want to insult him. There's
absolutely an incredible Viking-looking drummer, and he's got the thing with the skull. His name's L.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's safer to look him up. That's what he was going to do, which is incredibly
unprofessional. I should know his name.
L per something or other.
Well, while he's doing that, what about you then, Wayne? What are you kind of listening to?
you know what? My wife has had to put up with a lot of this going through the Alexa speakers. So I never gave this band a lot of a chance because I didn't like one song, and I'll tell you in a minute. But on our website, because someone mentioned, I don't know if it was a review written or a review verbally, but someone said we was a kind of a modern take of the 90s band Puddle of Mudd. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time listening to them back then at all. Might have been I was in college doing all sorts of other things at the time, but it just sort of time sort of been and gone. And then I kept thinking, every time I went on our website, I thought, Puddle of Mudd, I wanted to listen to those. And I'm now hooked on about 8 or 9 tracks of this. And the one song that I turned away from, I didn't like, was She Hates Me back in the day. And I just didn't take to that song for whatever reason. And I don't remember hearing them again. But yeah, I've been hooked on probably, like I say, 7 or 8 tracks of theirs now. I know it's obviously, probably a nostalgia vibe to that as well, which I like.
Nothing wrong with that.
And it's
music is new if you've never heard it before, so it's absolutely right.
Exactly that. And you kind of pick up different things as well, because the time would have travelled, but the tracks haven't, which is great.
Yeah, 100%.
I found it.
He's found it.
El Estaparo.
El Estaparo, that's it.
The Cost, and there's one song in particular called Not For Me, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely stunning track. And really heavy.
Well, we need a drummer, so I wonder if he's interested.
Not if I can't get his name right.
No, yeah. I'm going to call him Ellie. He's fine.
You just call him El Mick. So there we go.
Yeah, El Mick.
El Mick.
Right.
Another band is Tiger Cub.
Oh, yeah.
If you come across them at all.
No.
Tiger Cub, they were great. He took me to see them live in, where was we, Brighton?
Yeah,
that's
saw them in Brighton. I caught them at Reading. I took the kids to Reading.
They were really good, great energy.
And they were playing the mini band's tent. Yeah.
Well, if they bring an album out, then we'll keep it out. We review about 16 albums a month, so we come across a lot of bands. But anyway, so right. We're going to bring this wonderful journey to an end this evening. Thank you ever so much to the amazing Wayne and Greg of the SuperMicks. Check out their EP. Chaps, what's the name of the EP?
Found Me.
Check it out. It's on Amazon, Spotify. It's on everything else like that. It's absolutely fantastic. Loved it. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys. We wish you luck. Can't wait to hear the album when it comes out, and hopefully add it to our review. And in the meantime, hey, if you listen, guys, do you know what? If people like this interview, what should they do? What do you think they should do?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, chaps. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Do you like the SuperMicks? Check them out. Thank you very much. Good night and keep on rocking. Bye, guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.